Bye. Hello, everybody. I am not Lisa, so don't be confused. And I've got a little craft for you tonight. This is Crafting and Cruising, Lisa Seiler's page, and I'm her assistant. So, it's got fuzzy hair sticking up right on my head. Anyway, today this is kind of a history craft here. Many years ago, I used to build all kinds of things. I always have. I'd wait till a few people get on here before I get too carried away with what I'm saying. I'll just have to do it all again. I decided years ago I was going to do a little company called Copper Crafts and make things out of copper, because I like to do things with wire and all kinds of metals. Look, here's Donna Harrison is on. Paula Carroll is watching. My assistant Lisa is on, Crafting and Cruising. Jody Bloodgood is watching. Got a whole crowd coming on here. Anyway, as I was saying, I started a little company years and years ago, about 40 years ago, called Copper Crafts. And I was going to make little copper trees, and I wanted to teach other people to make them, and I'd send them a little kit and they could make the tree. Because I used to I just sat around watching TV and I'd twist up wires and make little copper trees. And people said, oh, I'd like to have one of those. So I would sell a few to people or make them. So those all got, after a while I decided not to. This was before internet was a thing, and I just decided not to do it, never really pursued it, even though I came up with a nice little packaging. This is a 40-year-old box from the thing. It says Copper Crafts on there, my old address and everything. And inside the box, what I intended to send out to people were little twisted up pieces of copper wire. Were used kind of the beginning point of a tree, not a whole tree, and a little wooden base that once you made the tree, you could put the tree in the base and put a little glue in there, and you'd have yourself a nice little copper tree. Well, it's actually pretty easy to do, but where it all starts, so getting on here now, let's see, I hope my assistant Lisa is welcoming people. Yeah, there's Jody, Jana Seiler, Abel is on there. Got my daughter's joined in. But basically you take wire, and I would buy just all kinds of either scrap wire or buy rolls of wire that was stranded wire. I didn't want any real coarse, wanted some pretty soft stuff that's easy to twist. And most of if you get something either a 14, a 12, or a 10 gauge wire, most of them were something on the order of, they'd have like 19 strands of wire inside. Of course, I've got a very dull thing I was going to use for a knife here to strip it off, so it's not working very well. I even got to the point that I made me a little machine that I could strip wire with to get all this plastic off, because I bought a few rolls of wire, like a 1,000-foot roll. I was really going to make a lot of copper trees. But basically, you see this one's got, it is probably still copper wire, but it's been tinned so that it looks silver instead of looking copper colored. I'll get some out here in a minute. But I was going to save people all the trouble. Instead of having to strip the wire, they could just buy a little kit, and it had all the things they need to make them a pretty little copper tree. Sharon says hello. This is Rodney helping Lisa out. Lisa is out of town this week at a crafting event, I guess you could call it. She and a bunch of friends, she could probably explain it to you online, but they're at a place in Kentucky, and supposedly they're doing lots of crafts, but I've got a feeling they're doing a lot of socializing and telling jokes and laughing and having a good time, which is just fine with me. I like for people to have a good time. But basically, I would take wire like this that is stranded, and like I say, the usual little copper wires you get, like THHEN 1416 or 1412 and 10 gauge, has about 19 strands in it. Then I would take those strands of wire, I'd take like 5 pieces about 9 inches long, and I'd twist the base together like this. Just give it a little twist and make it tight. You can do it a couple of different ways, but you can do it really tight or really loose. I like to make it about like this. And then you split it apart, and you take 2 of the strands of wire and you twist them. I usually, if I remember right, I would do it about 5 times, and then I'd take a couple more this way and I'd twist them about 5 times until it starts to make like limbs dividing. And And then if there's some left in the middle, I would twist it. And that would give each one kind of subdivided, like limbs. And then I'd take about whatever strands were left, I'd just roughly divide them in half. Now remember, these have been made up and stuck in a box for 40 years, so these are kind of dinged up a little bit from being passed around from place to place. But I'll twist these about 5 times and then divide this group up. Give it a little twist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can expect to get some of these little wires stuck in your hand, get a few minor abrasions and puncture wounds, but they'll all heal real nice. You know, there's some people that make things out of copper, like these belts and socks and all kinds of stuff, because copper is supposed to heal. So I guess if you poke a hole in yourself with a little copper wire, maybe it's kind of self-healing. As I recall, it's not, though. Thank you all for coming and supporting. Oh, Lisa must have written that. You're watching the big screen, big screen TV. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this one's a little out of balance, a little thicker on one side. But you just push them out of your way. Don't let them get the best of you. Now, speaking of trees and so forth, I was going to have to check on my plum trees when I got home. I made a quick trip to Knoxville today, and my plum trees are blooming out really well, and it's supposed to be maybe just a little bit of snow tonight and get down to 33 degrees. If it gets down to 32, it's going to make all my little blooms die and fall off, and I won't have any plums this year. But if it gets down to 33 and the blooms stay on, then I'll have lots of plums. So if y'all come see us, we'll have some plums and plum jelly and plum jam and all that stuff, because it'll be plum good. What else we got? Speak up, please. Oh, okay. Let me turn. I don't know whether it helps to turn the volume on this up or not. Is this better? Might give me a thumbs up if that's better. Oh, you know what? The air conditioner's on. That's probably why you can't hear me well. Let me step over here and turn the air conditioner off. It's beginning to cool off in here now. I'll bet you can hear better now without the AC running. 6. All right. Now, just keep on doing that, and you can go all the way out to the ends of them, or you can just keep moving around like I am, kind of keeping them balanced as you go, because once you get them done, it's kind of hard to get back in there and get to some of the pieces that are underneath. Let's get real close where you can see. I divided it in half, twist, 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 twist. I'm going to give this an extra twist. You keep doing that. Now, the further out you get, the more pieces you get, and the longer it takes. You'll end up, I forgot how many pieces you end up with, but if you had 19 strands on each wire, and you put 5 wires together, that'd be just under 100 pieces of wire you're dealing with, and you end up twisting them all several times. So this takes a little while. It doesn't have to be hard on your wrist or anything. You can do this. Once you get used to it, you can watch TV and do it. And see, I was going to really make a lot of money on these 40 years ago, because everybody's going to be sitting around making little copper trees while they're watching TV. So, let's see. Okay, that's Lisa responding. Oh, she said that is better, so she can hear me better now. Good. All right. So is anybody getting bored with this yet? If you were doing your own, you probably wouldn't be bored, because you'd be dealing with little pieces of copper stuck in your finger and stuff like that. But I'm going to do a couple more, and then we'll shift gears, because once you get one of these done, how in the world are you going to make it stand up? Because this little end here is no good. You could twist the other end of it and make some roots on it. And that doesn't, I've done that too. It doesn't look great. So usually what I would do is, when I would get them finished, I showed you the little wooden thing that I supplied in my kit years ago. These are just slices of cedar that I drilled about a 1/4 inch hole in. 2, 3, 4. So we're going to do just a couple more here. Yes, they stick together. You can just kind of run your finger out them and it will separate them. It's kind of like when your hair gets tangled up. All right. That's better. It's been so stormy here all day. Well, it's been stormy driving back and forth to Knoxville today too a little bit. And I just saw on TV that before I came out here, that Lynchburg is getting some stormy weather heading for them right now. It's not quite finished up in southern Middle Tennessee yet. All right, I think that's enough to kind of give you the idea. It'll keep getting fuller and fuller as we go out twisting them. Now, if you twist them more times instead of just 5 turns or 5 half turns like I've been doing, you'll run out of limbs sooner and they won't be as bushy on the end. So by doing about 5 twists each, that gets you a nice, full-looking little tree. So for now, I'm going to stick this one into this little base here. And the little bases can be coated with any kind of a finish that you want to. Use the little clear coat. I used to use a lot of polyurethane to go on them. So there's one. Now one year I decided that I wanted to get real ambitious and make some bigger trees. So instead of doing them 9 inches long, I went ahead and made them about 18 inches long. And instead of twisting 5 little bundles of wires together. Oh, there's Mickey on there. Hey, Mickey. Yeah, I am flying solo tonight, but I've got my worthy assistant in Kentucky on comments. So you'll see some comments from Crafting Cruise, and that'll be Lisa at the keyboard in Kentucky. So anyway, I decided to make a bigger tree. But as you can imagine, those of you who are math majors, and I know there's a few folks out there that are, if you decide you're going to make this taller and use more wires, you're going to end up with a lot more twist, and it kind of goes up geometrically. So I decided to make another little tree. So I came up with, this is one I made a long time ago. It's not very shiny now because it's been wadded up in the basement for years, but this is one that's got several hundred wires on it. But it made a real pretty tree. I just stuck it in this base tonight to have something to make it stand up. So we'll be gluing that one in later. And then one year I was making a model of a house. When Lisa and I were involved with the ministry in Africa, we had a main house for the ministry, and we wanted to show it at an event we were having as to what the main compound looked like. So I agreed to make a scale model of the house. So, hey Mickey again. Who else is that? Did you have a microphone? I can hardly hear you. Uh-oh, somebody's still having trouble hearing me. No, I don't have a microphone. Maybe, no, I'll just try to stay closer and speak louder. Sorry about that. At this little compound we had, I built the house, and it was about 3 feet long, 2 stories with balconies and the whole thing. But I wanted to make it look realistic, and we had some big trees in the yard. So I made some of these copper trees, and this is some of them have been in the cabinet. It's lost some of its fuzz, but I sprayed them with the spray snow like you use at Christmas, and then I sprayed it with green paint after that. So that's why I made a green colored tree. So we had on that model, I had several of these. I had some small ones. Had some big ones. And then one year I got ambitious. This one's really been kind of laid under a bunch of boards and stuff, so it's all smashed up, but I'm going to go through and straighten it out. But this is one made out of a heavier gauge wire. So, you know, it really looks kind of bad. Shouldn't probably even show you this, but it's heavier gauge, but it's, you know, so it's got less numbers of limbs, but they're all kind of smushed together. But anyway, that was the big copper tree idea that I had back then. And now that the internet's here, you might could sell some of them if you wanted to take the time to put some kits together. And if somebody's interested, I can fix you up some or show you how to do it a little more detail. But let's go ahead and get back to that little tree that I was working on. We'll finish one up here. Crafting and cruising. Okay. That's Lisa back on again. Mickey loves them. All right. So these, like I say, this is something that you don't have to sit down and it be a major deal to do them. If you got the little kit put together, you can just sit down and twist and watch TV and pretend you're paying attention to other people when they're talking and things like that. Twist, twist, twist. And this doesn't teach you a lot of different crafting skills. A lot of the times when we're watching these, they're teaching you how to do painting, how to paint checks, how to paint diamonds, how to use diamond dust, and how to not end up with it. You know, diamond dust, a lot of people really like diamond dust, and it is really pretty, but Lisa can tell you that I'm not a big fan of it, except in certain instances. I don't like it on any craft that you're going to be doing that might get in your food or your, because that glass is so crunchy when you end up getting it on a cookie or something. So you need to avoid, in fact, I started to make a list of rules one time of things not to do with diamond dust. And one of them would be don't do anything near where you're eating, because it does get stuck in everything and it's really, really crunchy. Here we go, more limbs. Any questions or anything coming up? Thank you for the heart. So good. Joanne Limbo is watching. Lisa? Joanne Limbo. Joanne, where are you from? I don't know. And I am terrible with names. I'll just go ahead and apologize for tonight and for the whole year, because when names come up, I may not recognize them the next week, and that's just me. My brain doesn't work that way. It works pretty good on a lot of things, but names, I have to have them spoken to me a few times, usually before I'm good with them. So Joanne, where are you from? It's probably going to end up being a Joanne that I already knew, but I didn't know her last name or something. Oh, so I guess this is kind of a good point. I'll see things, when Lisa and I are doing this, I'll see things on mine that she won't see on hers, and she'll see things on hers. So Lisa doesn't see a Joanne yet. I suspect you will in a minute, Lisa. She's from New York. I guess it's not a Joanne that I already knew. Well, welcome to Crafting and Cruising. Usually it's a lot better than this. I am the substitute crafter today, and I'm just teaching people how to do copper trees made out of regular electrical wire, like stranded wire, like either 12 or 10 or 14 gauge wire. And I'll kind of go back over, since there's some new people on. I cut 5 pieces about 9 inches long after I stripped the plastic off the outside, and I twist them together to make the base. Just twist them real tight, and it usually comes out to be about a 1/4 inch diameter when you've got that done. Oh, Mickey's in New York too. Got 2 New Yorkers on here. Coming south to watch crafting. See, when you get to the outside, things slow down because there's so many wires to twist. In the end, you've got, when you end up twisting just 2 wires together like this, that means you've got 50 of these to do, because there's right at 100, or close to 50. There's close to 100 wires in here. So, somebody that had an exciting day. Tell us what you did today. Let everybody jump in on there, because I can't do a lot other than twist wires right now. But Lisa will be glad to referee. I mentioned earlier, I had a job they called about last night. Said they had a medical center in University of Tennessee Orthopedic Center, and they had a heater that they thought was leaking, a water heater. I'm in the water heater business, for those of you that don't know. And so I looked at the pictures and I didn't think it was leaking, so I told them that I would come up there and see if I could take care of it for them. So I did. I jumped in my truck, drove 3.5 hours to the job, went in, spent 20 minutes, got it all fixed up where it wasn't appearing to leak anymore. It wasn't leaking water in the first place. It was leaking some condensate. Got it all fixed up. They were happy. Jumped back in my truck, headed home through storms and thunderstorms and things like that, and made it back just in time to do a little craft for all you folks. Oh, Lisa said 2 of them are scrapbooking. Lisa, how many people total are at the event? Is it just 6 of you, or are there more? I should know that, because most of the same ladies go year after year to this little crafting event, and of course men aren't invited. It's a ladies' night out kind of thing. Okay, twisting, crafting. All right. These are getting kind of wimpy here. Anyway, it's getting closer. These are finished up. This little bundle is all the way out to the end. So now I've just got about 75 more wires to, well, more than that, because some of them are not even close yet. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I was going to do other than, I guess I should plug this hot milk glue device in, since we can't say what it really is. Get ready to assemble this. What else we got? Donna Harrison. That's really amazing. Well, thank you, Donna. I'm sure when I first started it seemed a little more complicated, but with these I had worked it out to made a little written instruction to go with it years ago, so that if I sent one to somebody in the little box, they could just follow the instructions and make their own pretty little tree. So that's why I tried to simplify it to a certain number of certain kinds of wires. But you can make them, if you want to get creative, you can make you one out of about anything that's got copper wiring. I like copper wire because it's soft and easy to twist compared to aluminum wire, which will twist good, but it breaks easily. You can twist it once or twice. About the 3rd time it breaks. Okay. Now let me see if I can strip a piece of this off. I'm getting kind of bored with that myself, and I thought maybe we might do something a little different. Lisa, do you have any Band-Aids out here? I got a feeling I'm going to need them in a minute. Excuse me one second. The good thing about having a motorhome or a craft room is you got all the motorhome things that you need to keep a camper going, and you can use them. Oh yeah, and I helped to train some Boy Scouts years ago, and you never cut toward yourself. But I grew up using knives, and sometimes to me it's the best way to do it, but I have been known to cut myself a few times. Here we go. This is real pretty wire here. You can make a silver tree with this. I tried to find wire that I could buy that already had the rubber part cut off of it, but it's really hard to find. Yeah, Lisa's probably calling 911 now, expecting me to cut myself. See, I'm trying to stay above the major arteries there. I forgot I'm talking quietly again. Sorry about that, folks. All right, strip the wire. Well, Lisa, is anybody who makes those, and makes the flowers of gemstones. That's cool. Yeah, I've been in jewelry stores that had things like this that were pretty expensive, but they would, make a little copper tree, and they'd make either for leaves, they would dangle little gemstones on them, things like that. So yeah, you can jazz them up and probably get some real value in them. At one time, I bought a bunch of tiny little gold or little leaves to go on them. They were all gold colored, so they didn't really match the copper very well. Is anybody saying, "Oh no, he's gonna cut himself. Look how close he is to his wrist." All right, we're about to get it. All right, now this wire is a lot finer than I normally use. See, it's really, there's probably close to 100 strands just in this one wire. It'll make a really pretty tree, but it's going to take a lot of twisting. So there we go. Okay. If I was going to make a tree out of this, it's really soft and flimsy, so you can't make a tall tree out of it, or it would just bend over and probably break. I think we might get by with a tree this big. Probably so. Let's do that. Another thing too is if you're cutting wire, whether it's this or some other projects, you got to be careful what kind of pliers you use. These are pretty good for cutting wire. They don't leave little hooks on them. They don't leave them especially sharp. Some pliers, there's pliers like these, when you cut, if you're a little bit of an angle and you cut it, it'll end up with the wire will be like a little knife edge. And especially if it's a little bit stiffer wire, you'll end up poking and cutting yourself a lot with the wire, or if it leaves a little hook on the end. So these turned out pretty good here. All right, so now I've got 4 wires, and the first step is going to be to twist and make the base. So here we go. Just kind of get them even into a bundle. I'm trying to twist them, give them time as you're twisting for them to lay in against each other and not be real lumpy. Kind of like if you were twisting your hair up to braid it or something. Just like a nice little rope now. Nice silver on my hands. All right, step 1. Now we've got four wires here, so we've already twisted these together. So the first step would be to separate them out and twist these 2 together. 3, 4. I think 4 is going to be enough on these because they, at least starting out, they're progressing pretty fast. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you don't have to do it perfectly even. You want a little bit of randomness to your tree. Who's saying what now? Let's see. Sounds like fun. She's probably talking about the crafting event instead of making this tree. So see, look how many wires we got here. It's a lot. So we can't go 5 turns on every one of these, or else pretty soon we're going to run out and we'll just have a bundle that never get twisted to the last deal. So I'm just going to go with two twists. Okay. Divide it roughly in half. Just like if your hair's tangled, just get the tangles out. 2. Okay. Yeah, this would be kind of rough. If you've got delicate, soft hands, this is probably not the best thing. But mine are pretty rough. Could probably be rougher after tonight. Who's saying what? Girls' trips are good for the soul. Yeah. That can be true, or that could be a rationalization. I don't know which. They do usually come back with some pretty good stories, though. And I know, I guess most of the ladies that are on that trip, I've had the privilege of meeting. Fine bunch of young women. That should get some giggles there. All right. Doesn't yet look like a tree. Looks like a 70s hairstyle. So how do you determine how many groups to have and subgroups? Well, it all depends on what you start with. This particular wire had lots, like I said, it probably had 100 strands in each wire. So I'm just from, I guess, more from experience, knowing that if each time you got a bundle, you divide it in half and then twist the two half, roughly half. You don't have to be perfectly, you don't have to count them, but what feels like about half of them, you twist those, you divide it in half and you twist them back together. And that help, you don't, if you're perfect and everything's going to be really balanced, it's better in a tree for there to be a few bigger limbs next to each other. So if you're 1 or 2 strands off, it's no big deal. But I divide them into about half in each bundle like this, give them a twist. And like I said earlier, that other, I may have to turn the air conditioner back on. It was very hot here today before the stormy weather came in, and we've been leaving a little heater running in our motorhome out here. So between the warm weather and the heater running, it got toasty in here while I was gone. So I had the air conditioner on earlier. All right, so now pretty soon I get to where I can actually count the wires in a group and get an idea of what's going to happen. 2, 3, 4. So now in each of these groups, I've got still about 20 wires left in each small part out here, which means eventually I've got to get down to 2. So there's going to be at least 5 more, at least probably 10 more sections here. So I've got to keep them short, or else I'm going to run out to the end and just have a bunch of wire hanging out that's not twisted. So 1, 2, 3. I'll stick with 3s for now, and I'll work this one out toward the end and see how it goes. But if you get if you're got a husband, boyfriend, or whatever around, tell them to grab you up some stranded wire, strip it off for you, cut you some pieces to length, and just start experimenting. See what works for you. It's not a, if you end up ruining a piece of it, no big deal. I started to say just throw it away, but I wouldn't throw it away because I always like to keep my copper, use it for something, or sell it for scrap, things like that. Now I'm getting out toward the end here, and I see that I should have been twisting more, because now I've got all these long ones, and there's not many more times that I'm going to be putting them together. So it's just kind of trial and error, and in this case it was more error. 2, 3, I'm going to go 10. The other thing too, as the wires get smaller, as you're going out, and the wires are smaller, turning it 10 times doesn't go very far. See, this 10 times I twisted it, went about a ½ inch. Down here, when I twisted it 3 times, it went about a ½ inch. So the less wire you have, the more times you can turn it and still end up getting them all twisted up right. So it just kind of, I guess the good thing is to kind of make it look like a limb. Just some limbs will branch out quickly, some go further, but I'm you know, I kind of like a tree that looks fairly symmetric, that doesn't have everything off to all one side. I do like to do things artistically where trees are being blown in the wind. So once you get it made, I wouldn't try to do it while you're making it, but once you get it made, then if you want to just take your hand and push across it and sweep it all to one side and make it look like it's in the wind, you can do that. You can take like one of these, this one. At one time I decided to put a bunch of little balls of, I don't know whether I bought the beads at a store or what, but I got little beads all stuck on the end. That turned out to be tedious because that one's probably got 600 branches on it. 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like Mickey came back on. So now I've got toward the end here, and it looks like I've got 7 strands left. So all you can do is just pick, no, actually we've got 6. So I'll take 2 off to the side, and I'll twist these 4 together. Take them out toward the end. And then come back to these 2 that were left. Twist them. And that's the last opportunity you have to twist them, so you need to go ahead and twist them enough to get them out so that you don't have real long dangly wires at the end. And if you do and you don't like it, you can always snip some of them off at the end. There we go. Now this one that had 4 now has 2 sets of 2 left. I'll get up here above my, oh, actually it's a 2 and a 3. I must have miscounted that wire earlier. And this one. So that one had 3. I twisted 2 on one side and 1 on the other. Just twisted the 3. And this one gets on out there some. And that'll leave me that one will still have 2 strands on it. And I'll twist them one more time. Alright, so that one is finally out to the end, but as you can see there are hundreds more to go. So, who is saying what? Anyway, I think that we've pretty well gone through this. You've seen me do a little copper one, and this is a, like I say, it's probably a tinned copper wire, so get a silver one. So now that you know the basis, you can make your own little copper tree and just twist the wires up, and if you don't like it, untwist it and start again. So anyway, thanks y'all for coming on tonight. This was kind of a short one, but some of you may or may not have ever twisted up wires to make a copper tree, so you may have learned something new. So anyway, you can, those that came on late, you can spray them with spray snow and spray that with just with regular automotive paint, and you can make big trees like this one. You can make little trees like this one. Cruising, signing off. If I knew how to push the button to sign off. Let's see, where do you find that button? Finish.